genre.
Hello and welcome back to The Doctor's Companion. I'm Nick Jimenez.
I'm Scott Corelli.
And I'm Cass Fredrickson.
Today on the show, we'll be discussing Boom, the prequel to Boomtown, and the third episode of Series 14.
Man, what a twist that would have been.
So, yeah, and, not to bury the lead, this is the return of Steven Moffat to Doctor Who, his first episode since Twice Upon a Time.
Yes.
2 Doctors ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy, right? That, like, I don't know.
Which part?
All of it, like all
Yeah,
of
yeah.
it, like I don't know that he's back, that he wrote a new episode, that it was really fucking good. No spoilers, but I'm just it's crazy.
Right? I had that same kind of almost like when you're watching it. When I would watch a new Star Wars movie or like something crazy that I never thought would happen, the first few seconds are like, oh, this is really happening. Like this, there's his name on the credits.
Yeah. He was also like the executive producer for this episode. Just this one. Did you notice that?
No, I think I missed
that. Yeah. It was
funny.
in the credits. He was like listed as one of the executive producers, which is wild.
It's been nice having him also just back in the bloodstream of the show. Like he's just one of those writers that is also sort of like a kind of a natural showman and is kind of comfortable selling the product. And so it's been fun seeing him be like a talking head this week on like TikTok and Twitter and all that, Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, I guess spoilers. I fucking loved this one a lot. But I want to hear what you guys thought. Cass, what are your thoughts?
No, I also really enjoyed this one. We'll get into it, but there was a moment where the Doctor was, saying a line, and then I was just like, fuck you, Steven Moffat. Like, it's so like, because it was so good, know. But yeah, no, I was very impressed with this one, and I'm really excited to kind of dig into it with you guys.
Nick?
This is really interesting, boys. This is, continuing our trend from this week. I thought this was good. I did not think this was really fucking good, but
Whoa.
I did think it was solid. And I think that the season is 3 for 3, in my opinion. And I don't know if I enjoyed this more than either of the 2 episodes, but I thought this was, a really fun hook that could only come from someone who has spent decades of his life thinking about different things you can do with Doctor Who.
Right.
And, it was good having Moffat back in the show. There was some solid lines and some solid concepts. This was, I think, kind of like derivative of a lot of his other works, but in ways that I found interesting just because we haven't gotten him in a while. Of like, oh, you're doing this again. Or like, oh, you really like this concept a lot.
Yeah.
And so I don't think this episode topped any of the other episodes that this reminded me of, but it was like a really great showcase for every actor on screen, including, of course, principally like in Ncuti Gatwa. This is like, even if you weren't on board, this is the episode where it's just like, oh shit, he's like really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, solid, another solid episode, I say.
I absolutely adored this one. I just think it's the way that everything comes together, like all of the pieces, they just I don't know. Everything about this I loved. I even love like it's kind of a different Moffat energy a little bit in this one because he's not usually so like his episodes don't tend to be this cynical. So it was interesting seeing like a kind of cynical view through like a Moffat lens. Like he tends to be a very like kind of optimistic writer for the most part. So it was kind of interesting. I mean, not to say that this doesn't have like somewhat of a happy ending at the end of this, but
a certain Machina really gets its Deus on at the end.
Yeah, but it is a cynical episode, and it's about the Doctor being cynical about multiple things: capitalism, religion, the military, war. Like it was kind of crazy how he was just like, kind of like, I mean. You can't even really call it an allegory. Like it was just stating things, stating opinions.
You wouldn't describe 12 as cynical?
No, I would not. I would. I don't know. I would describe him, differently. Maybe that was like part of his arc is like, he had like a curmudgeonly energy, but I wouldn't call him cynical.
I guess I think back of his like dismissiveness towards like things like soldiers or like religion, racism. He kind of had this like, oh, you dumb fucking humans, you're always going to do the wrong thing. But every once in a while, you accidentally do something half right, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I guess I just don't really. I don't know. We're in the process of revisiting that era now. And most of those episodes I've only seen the one time. So maybe I'm just not remembering it very well, but it just never felt this pointed, I guess, or maybe it's something to do with like that energy being in like a Russell T Davies era vibes, of like, the standalone Moffat episode.
And the 15 that we've seen so far, where everything's been very storybook, bedtime magic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you are calling this cynical like overall, because honestly like the resolution of this really reminded me of Dr. Dance's like Just This Once Everybody Lives, and I know that that's not true in this one, but no, but like the energy and like the vibes were kind of the same, in a different way, because obviously it's a different Doctor, but I got a lot of Eccleston. Like, I don't know, like, and he does, there's that line about like, like he says something about like hope, and then he gets cut off, but then like at the end, I don't know, I felt like this was fairly optimistic in the face of like the horrible dystopic world that he set up.
Yeah, maybe cynical is the wrong word. Maybe it's more just like it was interesting seeing Steven Moffat like clearly dealing with a lot of real world shit that's on his mind.
Like pissed off, angry.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's not cynical, it's just pissed off and angry, which is not an energy that I typically see in Moffat, I guess. It's hard to be that that aggro about stuff when you have so much tee-hee-hee energy,
right? Yeah, because there's like an inherent whimsy to his era, even when it goes into weird places,
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, well let's dig into this, because I think that like right off the bat, the thing that I was really shook by is like we get our cold open back, Nick.
Yeah.
That's back. But I think like the thing that I really liked about this cold open is like, I was like watching these soldiers go through this foggy atmosphere on this like war zone, and they're like talking, and they obviously had like a lot of pre-life before they show up on screen, and they're just sort of like working through and talking about this world that they're in, and like how there might be creatures in the fog or whatever, and one of them has like a bandage because he's like been blinded, and like the other guy's like pulling him along. So like a lot of shit has obviously happened before we enter the story. And it was just the most like modern Who adapting classic Who vibes I have felt in a very long time on New Who.
That's great, Scott. Yeah, I just like shifted everything in my brain and pictured everything that happened in the cold open, but in like, a fourth Doctor era quarry. With
Yes.
like two guys named like Benson and Mortimer.
Yes. Yeah. So I just loved that. Like right away, I was like, oh man, yeah. Like it's Doctor Who, baby. I don't know.
There's that interview with Steven Moffat that I think Nick posted in the Discord a few days ago, but I didn't want to read it until after I'd seen the episode because and I'm glad I did because it gives a lot away. But in that, like Moffat specifically talks about like kind of adapting that part of like Genesis of the Daleks where the Doctor is just like, it's like, oh, what if he's stuck on a landmine and he can't move? So that's crazy that you like got that because like that was the intent.
Oh, yeah.
There's this clip on Instagram. I don't know if it's part of a larger whole, but it's like him and he's like, hello, I'm Steven Moffat and I'm back writing for Doctor Who. And I had this one idea I couldn't shake out of my head of what if we take the one thing that the Doctor has always had in his disposal that he's always used. What if we took that away? And if you want to find out what that one thing is, watch my episode this Saturday. And I was like, like, yeah, he's back. And like watching it now, it's like, oh, it's his ability to run away. But we're not quite there yet. I do like talking about the crew, the cast of characters that we have in like this cold open.
Yeah. Cause it's so fun because you get that classic Who energy right there at the beginning. And then when you cut to the town and she's like, like we've got the actress who's going to be playing the new companion. Not this character, but a different character. But it is funny. Now you have to introduce the third companion and that they have to be introduced as a character named Tuesday before becoming the third companion, right? So it's like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. But in any event, love her in this episode, but it's like a lot of her like, oh, like I'll show you my tattoo, like, ooh, like flirty, like we're not supposed to like have feelings for each other kind of thing. And that is very New Who, like that. So we go right from like this classic stuff to like a hard cut to this kind of like very New Who vibe of like, these are very like fully formed, well-written characters with like a lot of inner thoughts and feelings,
Right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can we say definitively these are not the warrior priests from the Weeping Angel two-parter back in the day, back in season 5?
If I am remembering correctly, the warrior priests are Catholic because there's like a pope, right? There's like, and then these are like Anglican, which is like Catholic light, but like
heathens.
They're technically two separate organizations.
Okay, cool.
I think.
Because that was my first, when they were like, oh, I don't have enough divinity, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, shit. Are we like back with these guys? I'm like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
No, these are different. Are these, does he just like?
I think they're two different organizations. Because like, am I remembering? Because there was a pope in one, right?
I don't remember.
Gosh,
but I don't remember them having the
thing, the collar.
The collar. Like, I don't remember them having the collars in the Angel two-parter. I think they were just like fully military garb.
Or am I confusing that Vatican 3-parter with Bill? Like,
oh no,
there's so
right. God, forgot that 3-parter. Remember that? You're like, you're getting 10 episodes. 3 of them are 1 episode. You're like, oh man.
Hope you like Vatican.
I'm assuming they're two different organizations, unless I'm proved wrong.
Yeah.
It's crazy, guys. Super footnote, I'm reading the Doctor Who book of the Eaters of Light, which is a Bill Nardole story, and like the way none of it stuck in my brain. Like, it's like I'm reading a new story,
Yeah. Wow.
Something about that whole era we just like black holed.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember there being, in that whole Bill era, I don't really remember there being, like, other than the finale, which was, great. I don't think any other episode really, like, popped, Like they were all just kind of like solid. Like they were all like B- to B+ episodes, like until the finale, you know? So sometimes
Golly.
that just happens. I don't know.
I was about to defend it with The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar, but I was like, no, that's Clara.
That's
Yeah.
Clara, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I liked the daughter in this first scene. I think she kind of became a different character after this, which we'll talk about. And yeah, Cass, like he did it twice. He introduced a companion early as an unrelated character. That totally went over my head. I did not notice that until I was scrolling through social media afterwards, that Mundy is the actor that's going to be the new companion.
Yeah. When you say he did it again, are you referring to Russell or Moffat? Because they both did it.
Yeah, they both did that.
So Moffat. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Because RTD, it's Donna,
and
right?
and Martha, because Martha was a different character in the.
Oh, and a different character. I see.
Yeah.
What you mean. And then of course,
and Amy.
Oh yeah, right. And Amy. Holy shit!
But this is this reminded me of the one where Clara was Oswin and she was inside of the Dalek. What was that one called?
Oh, Asylum of the Daleks.
Asylum of the Daleks, because that was like telegraphed close up on her face, and it's like, we know you know that she's going to be the new companion, but here she is now. Isn't that weird? What's going on? Tee hee hee. And this, I was just like locked in, and I just I didn't recognize the actor, and so afterwards I was like, oh, that son of a bitch, he did that thing again. That's so funny.
Yeah, this feels more like the Martha thing, where you know they did this episode and loved her, and then we're like, you know what, like let's just have her be the new companion. Like why even go through a casting process? We know we love her, you know. And I feel like that's what happens with Martha. So they're just like, yeah, I don't know. I kind of like that. Like that's kind of nice, because then you really feel like, oh yeah, okay, like they're not just like, I guess we need another companion. It's more like we just really liked her and we want her on the show because she's cool to be around. That's kind of like a cool vibe. I don't know.
Are you saying they
that.
liked her vibe and they were looking for a third, Scott?
Yes, indeed. Indeed. From across the room.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I like that. So okay.
God gets tubed, didn't he?
So you know what's funny is when you were talking about that Steven Moffat quote about like he doesn't have the one thing that he always has, and you said his ability to run, and that's what I thought too the first time that I read it. I watched that video, but as you were talking about it, I was like, oh wait, are they talking about a companion? Because she gets like out, like she's out, and like for most of the episode, which is like a lot of people's like kind of main criticism of this episode is they're like, it sucks that she's not in it, that this is just like the Doctor.
But that's like a tried and true tradition of the show. Like there's always episodes that rely more heavily on it, like a lot of good Moffat episodes.
That's a strange criticism. That's not a criticism I would level at this episode. I like feel Ruby's presence like the entire way through, which because she's like, you know, because even when she's laying there dying, like, you know, like because I was like so caught up in Ncudi's performance and how he is like, you know, like I need to talk my way through things and I can only talk to you, you know, like that. I was just like, oh man, like that's, I guess it speaks to like how much he's like dialed into this character already, where I'm just like, hell yeah, like the Doctor meets his friend, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's so funny that we have routinely forgotten to talk about this on the show and are always reminded of it, but we get yet another appearance by actor Susan Twist, who was the lady in, she's been in every episode so far, and she is the nurse robot face, the AI personification.
Yeah, she was a crew member in Space Babies in a video. She was the tea lady in Devil's Cord, and she was she was like the lady that's like talking to what's his face, the gravity guy, at the beginning.
Oh, that's
Isaac
right.
Newton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gravity
Isaac
guy.
Newton,
Yeah.
Yeah. Sir
The
Isaac
gravity
Newton.
guy.
Yeah. I just forgot his name.
No,
Like,
it's so it's
No,
funny.
I know. I got you.
Actually, she's
Yeah,
like the first person we see because like the door's
Yeah.
open and she's like right there.
Yeah. And that's the beginning of special 2, right? So that's her 1st
Mhm.
appearance, I think. And I don't know
Is
if
she
she's
in the first one?
I don't know.
Gary knows. Gary's been good at keeping up with all of them.
Yeah, I don't know if she's in the Giggle. I don't think she is, but I don't know. And then she was in the Christmas special, but I forget where. But people have pointed out that she was there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what and she was in that. There's like I was watching the X-Men 97 finale, and I got like a trailer for Doctor Who ahead of it, and she's in the trailer too, like as like a character that he's gonna like talk to.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, so like this is gonna go somewhere. We just don't know where or why or how, or is it gonna be related to what's her name, the neighbor that knew what a TARDIS was, or whatever. Although with all of that stuff, taking that all into account, the Susan Twist aside, I don't know what that is going to be because I don't know how you're going to justify all of that. But I'm interested to find out. But with the lady, the neighbor whose name I forget,
Mrs. Flood.
Flood,
Ooh,
yeah,
good
that
call.
sounds about right. With almost every episode at this point has mentioned Susan.
Yeah.
To a degree that is like, are you trying to remind us of a character? Like, are you trying to remind us of something to like?
Oh, you
get
mean
us
like the whole like,
aligned? For her reappearance or something?
right? Because in this episode they really dial in on like dad to dad energy, parent power. I'm a dad. I have kids out there.
Yeah.
Right.
I wonder if, or maybe, that's a thing that we've never talked about. Is like, what if it's not Susan? What if it's Susan's parents? Like, what if it's like Susan's mom or Susan's dad, meaning like his son or his
Hi,
daughter?
Dad.
Yeah. Like that would be,
Cool.
that's something we've never gotten. That's interesting. I don't know. Maybe
You lost Susan, you piece of shit.
I think people would hate. I think people would probably hate it, but I think I would be interested. At this point, like it's just been so long that you're like, fuck it. Like the show's been on forever. It's fine at this point. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like all of that stuff has got to be like. There's a lot of balls up in the air right now. Because
we
things they're dealing with.
We didn't lock into. Because there was some, I don't like that it's murky if Maestro is the person who picked up the master's tooth at the end of the Giggle. Like it probably was, but I wish we would have definitively like solved that mystery just to like know for sure like what that was about. Or was that another member of the Legion? Is Susan Twist another member of the Legion?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't know. Or is it going to be whatever her name is from Game of Thrones, who hasn't appeared yet? I don't even know. Have they even announced like what episode she's going to make her first appearance in?
I know from the trailers she's in the Bridgerton episode.
Oh, okay, interesting. That's like the episode right before the 2-part finale. So that's interesting.
And we don't have to do this now, but I do want to talk to you guys at the end about the thing I didn't know at the time, where this episode is on the timeline and where Devil's Cord was, and like that 6-month gap or whatever.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, that's right.
But the dad guy, the blind guy, he's a good actor. He was solid.
Yeah, I think he was good. I think the thing that I just really liked how all of the themes of this episode like came together. Of like, the good kind, like it was interesting because, he was talking about like the doctor at that one point is like, lambasting the concept of faith. And it's like, oh yeah, like you're just like, you're fighting nothing because you have faith that something's out there. And like, that is such bullshit. And like, wake up, idiots. But then at the same time, he has so much faith in Ruby that like she's gonna pull out of this. And so it's sort of this like interesting examination of like toxic faith versus like optimistic faith, or whatever the opposite of toxic is.
Well, he puts it really succinctly of like, I thought you didn't like faith, and he goes, I don't like it doesn't mean I don't need it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. It's cool. I don't know. There's like a lot of really cool stuff in this, and it just reminds me of, it's so, as much as there is like so much stuff in this, it was just so nice getting a Moffat episode, because that guy, like, I mean, just no one writes Doctor Who like him, right? But when he was show running, it was all mixed up with like mythology and long spanning plot lines, and the fact that he was show running 2 shows simultaneously, and the 50th anniversary, and all this combination of stuff that was like very complicated. Cass looks exhausted just thinking about it.
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah, and it just felt so nice to just get an episode written by Steven Moffat that doesn't need all of that baggage. He just got to like be like, okay, I'm just writing an episode of Doctor Who, and it just felt so nice. I don't know, felt very cozy, despite what this episode was about and how stressful it was to watch. I felt great while watching this. Yeah.
I think one thing that I appreciated too, as far as like how it feels like an episode written by Moffat, but like it's like to me it felt like really kind of like there were aspects of it that felt really fresh. Like when there were a couple of instances where they're like, oh, like we think that they're in the fog or whatever, and like because like Steven Moffat is really good at turning like mundane things into monsters, and so the fact that like the twist of it is like, no, there's actually nothing there, there's like literally nothing, like I think was really well done, like on a meta level, because he's just like, see, like you thought it was gonna be the fog.
I was gonna write a stupid story about the fog being a monster that eats people. Well, who's the stupid one now?
It's so much worse than that. It's so much sadder than that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought that too. I thought when they mentioned that, I was like, oh, fucking really? Like, it reminded me of like that Family Guy joke with Stephen King, where they're like, what's your next book about, Stephen? And he was like, a lamp. Ugh, scary lamp. Like that's what it just reminded me of that joke,
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was nice when it revealed that was a red herring.
I wasn't even thinking about the Cordovas or whatever. I mean, they mentioned them once or twice of like those things might be, I hear they're in the sand, I hear they're in the dirt. But I was like, so when it was revealed, like there's actually nothing there, I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just want to just highlight just star sticker. The way Chudigatwa is able to communicate fear through this entire episode. I don't think a doctor actor has ever been allowed to be this nakedly afraid in such a human way before.
Yeah. And what I love about that too is when you're watching it and he's like crying, he's got like tears streaming down his face, and you're just like,
it's a beautiful face.
What yeah, down his beautiful face. I was just like, what? There's a part of me that I was like, okay, this is weird. Like that doesn't feel like the Doctor. But then when you get the reveal that it's not that he's scared for himself, it's that he's scared for everyone because he knows what's going to happen if this thing goes off. Is because he's got so much energy inside of him that it's gonna like destroy this fucking planet. Is like, I'm like, okay, that is cool. Like I thought it was like the way that this episode kind of parses out information, where it's like revealing the sort of emotional context of the information before what the characters are feeling emotional about. It was just like really kind of masterfully done, in my opinion. I really loved all of that. I thought it was great. Nick, what was you referenced that there was like stuff that like Moffat was doing again. I'm just curious about like what those elements were that were sticking out to you.
Yeah, like just like going back to what you said about cozy, of like, I'll show you my tattoo. Whoa, my tattoo. And I'm like, oh, look, it's he loves this. He loves this dude because this is what's his name? His husband, Rory. Yeah,
yeah.
He just loves hopeless, dopey dudes and the cool girls that they're obsessed with, and like the like heartbreaking secondary media, like holograms of people that are like, you're very sad, but I am a robot.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Just little stuff like that. I was just like, okay, yeah, it's kind of like, it's not quite greatest hits because like he is kind of, I like how meaty of a concept. He's on a landmine. There's no like, what if shadows were memories and that was a ghost?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was another quote that I read that I really liked because I think it was the one that I shared on Discord cast where it was like, what was it like writing for the 15th Doctor? What was it like writing for Chitagawa? And he's like, well, the Doctor's the Doctor. Like, I strongly believe that I write the Doctor, and I was like, ooh, I like that because it gives the actor the power, the actor the opportunity to like, well, how do I do this? And that's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, because there's a different version of this episode in another universe where, David Tennant did this or Peter Capaldi did this, and they're like stoic on that, standing on that thing, And I like the idea that like he didn't write tears are streaming down the Doctor's face. That was Nishuti's like idea,
Right.
To do that. And I like that. You're right. Like, I think that's really cool. I think that's really, really cool.
Millie Gibson's also really good in this.
Mm-hmm.
I love the like real, like, I don't know if either of you guys saw the Five Bloods, the Spike Lee movie, but like something pretty much like this happens in that movie. And it's also the best part of that movie. But like the scene, the part where they have the gross flesh tube of the guy, and she thinks that like the weight will even out, but like she won't throw it to them, and they're just like locking eyes and just like, I fucking love you, Ruby Sunday. Like, I fucking love you, the Doctor. And like,
yeah, that's good. Going back to the Moffat, like kind of like greatest hits or repeats or reruns or whatever. You have like the phrase that gets repeated a bunch, like
thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers, kiss kiss. You get the thing where somebody starts talking before you realize that they're dead. Which is also from Silence in the Library. Who turned out the lights? That one's a double. That's a twofer because it's a repetitive phrase and they're talking before you know that they're dead. But I like recognizing those little like author specific tropes. I think that's kind of interesting.
Because sorry, Cass.
Oh, no, because I just think that he, for the most part, does a really good job of like mixing it up. Like it feels like his little stamp or like flourish, but like in the context, it like the context changes depending on like, which Doctor he's writing for or what have you.
Yeah, that's what it is. It doesn't feel like a greatest hits. It feels like a remix. Like that's what this feels like.
Yeah. It's not as celebratory as a greatest hits because it's just like, no, I'm just clocking in. I just like, this is like a cool story idea that I had.
Yeah. What was the revelation you had? Just a second ago.
You talked about how he's like a little bit like cynical or like angrier in this episode. And another thing that I think he's sort of packing a lot of his frustrations in is like the limitations or the sacrilege of artificial intelligence, which is
right. Yeah.
Cartier, whatever's, he says kiss kiss because we know that's his send off to his daughter. That's their little language. And so to have an artificial intelligence coldly and lovelessly repeat it, and we know the warmth that it is meant to be heard in, it's like, that is sacrilege. There is something wrong about that. And it's almost like with the coming looming threat of AI, it's his way of being like, yeah, look how fucking short this falls, even though it has all of,
Mhm.
it's supposed to be him, but it's not.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. And it's just so interesting how many like drawers the concept behind this episode kind of opened, because, you know, it's clear that like at least from a I guess like if you're talking about like umbrellas of themes, right? Your two main umbrellas are like organized religion and capitalism are kind of the two main ones. And then all the other things like faith and the AI
War.
thing, war, all of that kind of fall under all that stuff. And are all related. And it's just like, yeah, like opening those two drawers, he was like, holy shit, there's a lot of stuff in here. Like, you know?
Oh yeah, because like, you know, when the doctor steps on the mine, he immediately knows. Once I keep calling her Millie. Once Ruby is like, oh, it has McVillain, whatever the evil corporation.
Yeah, the V, yeah.
He's like, oh shit, I know exactly who these assholes are. They keep the scales weighed just enough to where losses are always acceptable enough to keep the war going.
Mhm.
And then we learned that like there is no war. The machine is the purpose of it. That they're just keeping these guys churning like meat at an acceptable rate to keep it going.
Right. Which, you know, I mean, you know, I like there's a war that's been going on for like 35 years. And it's just still happening. Just keeping going. And that's just us. That's just America, you know.
And only on the American
every other
end,
country, you know.
It's like, it sure is funny how we have for some reason, for some conflicts, we have unlimited resources and weapons and bodies to throw at it. But then this other thing happened, and it's like, well, we don't have any business ties with that country, so they're SOL.
Yeah.
Yep. See, a war and capitalism. There it is.
Yeah.
It's fucked, man. And it's cool seeing Moffat deal with something like that. These more like sort of social concepts, because it's not always where his head tends to be, I think. And I think one of my criticisms of Capaldi's first season is, you know, you brought it up, he leveled a lot of criticism against soldiers, but I don't know that any of that is like particularly executed that well, because ultimately you're kind of just like, I don't know what you were trying to say, man, because like he seemed like a good guy, you know, but like,
Right.
you know, but I don't know that it changed his mind about soldiers, and like, I don't know.
Honestly, I feel like he's been kind of churning that over in his head since then, and like this is what came out of it. Like, it's not about the individuals, it's about the machine and the system surrounding them.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, like, yeah, you know?
Yeah. I think that's probably what he realized. Because like, oh, that's my problem. That's the thing I need to point a finger at.
The Danny thing ended with like, wow, I was wrong. He actually was a pretty good dude. And I'm like, well, then what was that? What were we supposed to take from all that?
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly. And I think the idea was just like, hey, don't hate soldiers. Like, you know, don't hate the player, hate the game. You know,
it's
like that.
We kind of don't. I guess, you know, like
right. Like I think that was ultimately what he was trying to say. But like the problem was just like, yeah, but we didn't see the game. All you did was talk about the player. That's it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it was rough over there.
Yeah. Whereas this is literally like, no, don't you get it? You're all players. You need to hate the game. And it's like, yeah, that's right.
So yeah, the daughter comes in, and I don't know, man, at some point, because like she seemed like a kind of like a normal 11, 12-year-old girl when she was like, how do you know I didn't brush my teeth? You can't smell my breath through Dad. And for the rest of the episode, it's like, Daddy, where's Daddy? I want Daddy to be here.
Yeah.
Where did Daddy go?
It seemed like she was being written much younger than the actress that they cast for her.
To the point where I was like, is she a fucking robot? Like,
yeah, it had a little like, are you my mummy energy at times.
And I just feel like a 12-year-old like army brat that has been moved around and like has lived in war would kind of be able to perceive, I know that's a hologram. I've seen those before. Like Jenny's dad, that happened, but she's like, oh, Daddy, come let me hug Daddy. I'm like, he's a fucking hologram.
Right.
Yeah, she was definitely miscast. But I I'll say this for Moffat and whatever casting directors that he or not Moffat, Russell T Davies and whatever casting directors he typically works with, not great at casting kids, to be perfectly honest. Like if you look back at those like 4 seasons and the special, the kids were never very good. And it seems like maybe like Russell just has like kind of a generally dismissive, like, yeah, that's what kids sound like, whatever. That's fine. Kind of attitude about kids.
Not counting Rose, of course, because I think the actor playing Rose is an adult.
Right. Correct. And also a pretty, a teenager, anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Not a child.
Not a child.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm thinking like, under 16 kind of children. Like I think about like, remember that really annoying kid in the Santarin 2-parter that was
my God. Yeah.
Yeah. That, you had the girl in the episode that, Cass and I railed against, the, Olympic one.
Oh yeah.
Fear Her.
Yeah. Fear Her. Right.
Yep.
I don't know. I just think that Russell doesn't prioritize casting good children. He just doesn't care.
Oh, you know what kid rips though that we just talked about is young Michael Gambon in Christmas Carol.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. He's really good. I also think it's a character that is tough to cast for a kid because it's like there's just enough there that you need someone capable of like legitimately good acting, but not enough to like attract necessarily those actors. It's like, it's kind of like, it's a tough, I feel like it would be a very tough role to cast. So I get the instinct of casting older, but I think you guys are right. It doesn't work once she arrives at the landmine spot. It doesn't work. That whole like sequence where Ruby's like wrestling with her, I'm like, do you not know what a hologram is, girl? Little girl, that is not your dad. What are you doing? It's very, very strange.
So then Mundy shows up with her gun and she's like, put the thing down or, get away from her. This was like a totally, solid performance, but like, I remember when I was on my phone afterwards and it was like, welcome to the show. Mundy's coming back. And I'm like, oh no, it's not that character, is it? And she's not going to be in the show forever, right? Like,
yeah, no, it's not. It's a Freema Agyeman situation. Yeah. And I am glad because I'm like, I'm just like, well, then you would literally be obligated to make the third companion name Tuesday. Like, there's no, there's nothing you can do. Like, you've set up a standard at this point.
Yes.
Cass, what did you think of Mundy?
I liked her. I also didn't realize that she is coming back next season. So I liked her as a one-off. I thought the performance was compelling. It was a little frustrating, the character, because I don't know. As an audience member watching the show, it's like, well, you listen to the doctor is right. But she's just like, no, I need proof. And it's just like, no, you don't. Just listen to him, So that was kind of frustrating. And I will say that the it's not really a rom-com, but the will they won't they subplot kind of really landed for me, and I think that was due to her performance more than the substance. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she added weight to it, even though it is pretty dopey guy like me, guy, nice guy like me.
I ate that shit up with 7 spoons. I was like, as soon as he says his first line where he's obviously a hologram now, I was starting to cry. I was tearing up. So it definitely got me.
I think it would have been better if she immediately knew.
Yeah,
because
I will say, yeah, you're probably right about that. Yeah.
Because like if we know, she knows, and if she was like, "Oh fuck,"
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, but yeah, it's. I thought she was great. I liked her arc. She is incredibly frustrating, but I think that's more
Like the point.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. Yeah. And she comes around in the end, and she does when she does ask for proof. I also found that really frustrating until she explained herself, which was you have to understand, I can't make a decision, so it doesn't really matter what I think. Like, we have to send the proof to the person who can make that choice.
We haven't even talked about the algorithm yet.
Yeah, the algorithm. Oh man. Which
I pissed off at.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's.
We all
part
are.
Of what you were talking about with the AI, right?
The AI.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that's another drawer. It's a little drawer in the
right. Yeah, it's a different aspect of AI, which is like using AI as an algorithm, versus like a horrific recreation of a living thing. Yeah,
and an excuse. I mean, they even brought it up in that shitty Gal Gadot spy movie that I saw last summer, where that was about a spy organization run by an algorithm, and. At one point, it's like, well, this algorithm can tell us what countries to help and what countries to like turn a blind eye to. And like, are we okay with that? And this, this world that they're living in and boom, takes human compassion out of and human empathy out of war and leaves everything to the whims of this algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I wish there was a little bit more. Or just like some kind of reference to like how this started. But like maybe the point is that they're like multiple generations into it at this point and they don't even know how it started. But I just like, because he talks about like how he dragged his daughter here to do this, and I'm like, why? Like, how did we get to that point? I don't know. I would be curious about that.
Like, are they paid?
Do you mean like the specific conflict on this planet, or like the war profiteering?
Like
general?
how the soldiers got involved, like how they joined this.
I'm interested because if they're priests, because like in our country in America, many people that joined the army, my own dad included, back in the 70s, was like, well, that's kind of the only option I have. It pays much better than any other kind of job I could get at my age and my income level. So I'm going to do this, hit my grind, and like send money back home. But like these are also priests. So are they not compensated? Are they in the clergy? Have they made vows?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because there's that reference to vows, right? Where she's like, you're like celibate, right? And he was like, no, I haven't made my vows, or something like that. He like throws off like something like that. And she's like, oh, really? Well, I'll show you my tattoo. Yeah. So there was something about that.
I regret not watching this with subtitles.
Just
so I can catch little stuff like that better.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you're right. That is like the main reason why most people, I think, join the military, as long as there's not like a big flashy conflict thing that shows up, and then sometimes that inspires a bunch of people, or sometimes it's Top Gun.
Sometimes a really cool movie comes out.
Yeah, sometimes a really cool movie comes out that everyone's like, wow, the military seems fun, I love volleyball. But yeah, I just wish there was like something about that where it's just like, yeah, no, I got into this because I had no choice. Even just that would have been like enough for me to be like, oh, okay, I get it. They're preying on these people to join this like grind.
Or is it a holy war? Like, is it like
right. Yeah. I would just like to, I guess I just would have liked to have known like something else about how all this got started. Because like, was he in this when he had a wife? Or did he join after the wife died and
right.
And he joined because of that, like, I don't know. I'm just, I'm curious. But yeah. Man, it feels like we're really like underserving how good Nishutigawa is in this, because it's just like, it's like he's literally like the star of this.
Yeah,
like,
he's like carrying like all of the dramatic tension.
Yeah. Yeah. While
like
not
resting
being
on his
able to
shoulders.
move.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nuts. It reminded me a lot of Midnight in that way. You know, like
Where it's very self-contained.
yeah, and very and
Yeah.
it's like kind of companion light, sort of. Like not really like you said, but like, you know, it's clear that, you know, Ruby is not the focus of this any more than she is like kind of thematically the focus.
Right.
And boom, Midnight lets the Doctor become much more vulnerable than we're used to seeing him be.
Yeah, scared,
frightened, like terrified for his life.
Right. And terrified for the lives of everyone else, you know?
I'm wondering if like fear and music are going to be like threads throughout this season, because like in Space Babies, where he's just like, why am I scared? Like, I never get scared. Why, you know? And he's like kind of like working through why, and it's like a puzzle. But like this one, he's like no, like I'm legitimately terrified.
The Devil's Court.
And then like, yeah, and then and here too. And so when he's afraid, he starts to sing, and I really like how seemingly like intertwined these two concepts are, and I'm interested to see like if that goes anywhere.
Oh, and then it helps Ruby, because there's that part that I mentioned earlier where he's like, well, I can count to 3, and she's like, actually, no, sing. That'll help my brain better. Sing that song you were singing earlier. I'll sing it with you, and then I'll throw you the flesh tube.
Right. on the word something.
Yeah.
I forget what word it was. Yeah, no, you're oh, go ahead, Cass, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was watching with Norman, and Norman pointed out to me that there's a line that he says about songs about soldiers should be sad, and I think that's like something that is talked about in Wild Blue Yonder as well.
Yeah, because of the song.
Yeah, so I'm not sure where that's going, if that's going anywhere.
Interesting. There's a lot of threads that
I'm
going to be very curious how they're able to tie all of this up.
Right.
If they're going to, like, who knows? Maybe with it only being 8 episodes, like maybe that obligation isn't on the forefront of his mind. Of like, no, like I'm going to tell an arc over multiple seasons instead of like tying it all up in a bow at the end of this season. Who knows?
That's a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah. Like I'm sure like something is going to get resolved at the end of this, but maybe not everything, you know? And so maybe we should be thinking about that in terms of like setting our expectations for the finale, so that we don't like walk away disappointed because we don't get all the answers we're expecting.
We get the return of snow. It starts to snow again.
Yep. So far that's been in every episode. So I'm wondering. Yeah, that feels to me like that is going to be the main thing that's going to get resolved this season, is that stuff.
The Church on Ruby Road stuff.
Yeah, all of that I think is going to get resolved this season. And maybe all of those other threads are going to continue on and keep going. That would be my theory. That would be my guess. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it'll all get tied up. Who knows?
Do we want to talk about the dad going into the computer and doing the thing and shutting down the thing and making the happy ending, or do we want to just go straight into like?
I don't know. I kind of like that. I get. It's
fun.
Like I just thought it was like it just was very silly. In a very like Doctor Who, Russell T Davies kind of way, and it was kind of fun seeing Moffat like play in that place again, I guess.
I think it was that specifically how everything is kind of neatly resolved. That specifically was the Doctor Dance's moment for me. Like it just felt like despite itself, it felt like, oh, like this is a happy ending, you know?
As opposed to like something like Midnight, which really does end in that like no easy answers, uneasy feeling.
Right.
And from my memory of it, you're kind of like, you're as shaken as the Doctor is at the end of that episode.
Remember, so at the end of that episode, we never find out what that thing is.
No.
Right.
What if that's the thing? Like, what if that's what's going on? Like, what What if that has something to do with like the you know, what is it called? What do they keep calling
The one
it?
who waits.
The one who waits.
I'm one because when Wild Blue Yonder came out, I remember there being like theories. It's like, oh, what if these things are like the thing that or related to the thing that was in Midnight? And so, yeah,
RTD.
Yeah. Like where he's like, oh, that's
Interesting.
something everyone loves that episode. And I never came back. And this whole season is all about these sort of like we've been talking about, like these villains who are like unknowable celestial forces, you know, that
Right.
like, you're like, I don't know how to explain how the Maestro can do all that they can
Like,
do, but like
it's closer to magic than anything the Doctor's ever had to come up against before.
Yeah, that's
Mostly.
Yeah, I feel like maybe that's something. I do want to point out one thing that I was absolutely heartbroken about before we get into the our sort of like wrap up or whatever.
Post game, yeah.
Mhm.
And that is the moment when Ruby looks at the fog clears and she sees the galaxy
Yeah,
and
that was
everything.
great.
Oh,
And it's like, oh my God. And like having the moment of like realizing she's on another planet. And the Doctor is like, oh, fucking damn it. Like, this is my favorite part of being the Doctor. This is why I have you fuckers around all the time, is to get this secondhand experience. And I'm not even going to get it because I'm stuck on a fucking landmine where I have to
Yeah.
just keep staring forward. And it is so, he's trying to make the most of the moment. And he's just like, oh yeah. Isn't it great? It's beautiful, right? And he's like trying to get something out of it. But like the juice just isn't there because he doesn't get the vicarious thing that he normally does. And I was like a little heartbroken for him. Like I was like, wow, like there's beyond the two guys that like get turned into flesh tubes, there's like another like casualty in this episode. And it's that 15 doesn't get that moment with Ruby. And suddenly it makes sense why they're gonna be looking for a third next season. Because he's like, I'm getting my moment. But yeah.
I as much as I don't particularly care for like the mystery box companion trope, I will say that when the stupid little computer was like next of kin and like glitching on it and like Ruby was like, just tell me who I'm related to, I was like leaning forward no, I need this too. So I'm interested to see like if we actually do get that resolved or if that's the carryover as long as Ruby's here.
Well, I mean, I think the who am I related to is going to have something to do with like who dropped her off at the church.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I
think
think even Russell has even said that will be resolved this season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
like
What
that's
if
what
that's
the
Susan?
finale's about. Yeah. Yeah, I think the holdover isn't going to be that stuff. I think we're gonna.
It's gonna be the
Yeah.
other stuff.
Like
But
Legion
though with the
stuff, like One Who Waits stuff, maybe.
Yeah, though with the snow, I'm now wondering, like, you know, is she going to be related to all of these celestial beings? Like, is she
she's
like a
half
Star
celestial.
Lord? Yeah, is she like a Star Lord where she's like the daughter of one of these celestial beings, these all powerful celestial beings?
Oh,
And that's why
interesting.
she can do shit like that. Like make it snow because, you know, she's Rosario Dawson in Men in Black 2.
Good pull.
Yeah. I it's not my pull. Bethany has made that joke every single episode.
Whoa.
Every time it snows, she quotes Men in Black 2 every single time.
That's so funny.
What is it? What does Tommy Lee Jones say? It's like it rains because you cry, baby girl.
Yeah. He's like, you ever wonder why every time it rains, every time you're sad, and it's sunny every time you're happy? Yeah, or something like that. Yeah. It's
That's amazing.
But yeah, I'm wondering if that's what the thing is, and maybe her mother or father or whoever's under that, or both. Who fucking knows? They're celestial beings. Maybe they don't need to appear to make a child.
Right.
You know.
Like Cthulhu.
But yeah, but like maybe that is the one who waited. Maybe maybe they're waiting for Ruby.
Oh,
Bring me back my daughter. I want my
Yeah.
daughter back.
Maybe, I don't know.
That's cool.
Interesting thought. Yeah.
I like the happy ending was nice. I was a little like when they were all like goodbye, hug. I'm like, people died.
Yeah. people died. You almost killed her. Like,
I don't think this is one of those Doctor Who stories where it's like, oh, I miss you.
Yeah, maybe a respectful handshake, but like,
well, we survived,
Yeah, but I do wonder if it's more like it's supposed to be a commentary of like what it's like to be at war in a war with other people, and then when the war's over, it's like you're kind of like bonded forever, like those videos that you see of
like trauma bonding.
Yeah, trauma bonding.
Yeah.
Like it's a thing where like those videos you see of like those guys who were like reunited with their like best friend that they were like in a war together with that they haven't seen since then, and they're reunited and they're like, they might as well be married is what it feels like, like it's that level of emotion. Yeah. So maybe it's something like that. But I don't disagree, Nick. It is weird.
or heck, I mean, when listening to you, that made me think of that moment with this whole experience with Ruby and the Doctor. I mean, this, especially because canonically, this is their second adventure together.
Yeah. Yeah. And kudos to Julianne Robinson, who apparently directed this one. For I don't know if it was her or the editor of this episode, whose name I don't have because they haven't made a Wikipedia page for it yet, or whoever was in the edit room with the editor, whatever the situation was, Moffat's script or the combination of everything. This is probably the most tense I've been watching an episode of Doctor Who since midnight. I think that was the last time I felt this tense watching this show. I can't think of another example. So yeah, pretty cool. I don't know. Good episode. Really well done. Just really well done and very different from the other two.
Yes.
Where I love that we're 3 for 3 with totally different energies. And it looks like that's continuing with next week. Like next week also looks like a very different energy. So
potentially a companion centric episode.
Yeah, which makes sense after this one, right? Yeah. The next episode being 73 yards, part of another pair of Russell T Davies episodes in a row, including finally getting the one where the Doctor is in the outfit that he was like announced in. That's the one after the next one. Finally. The checkered outfit with the sweater, like the short sweater top, the orange thing.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I think it was like the first episode they filmed, I think. And that's why that was the thing that they were announced in. But in any event, that looks very good. The title being 73 yards makes me think that thing, that woman, whatever, that shape that's following her stays 73 yards away from her at all times. And that's like, that's like what the episode is. And that's like really creepy. And I like that. Like just standing there exactly 73 yards away at all times. Yeah, that'd be pretty unnerving. I don't know. So I'm looking forward to a spooky one next time. Yeah. All right, cool. Any other thoughts, Nick, before we wrap this one up?
No, I think it's really fun that these 3 episodes have all inspired kind of really strong reactions on either. I mean, I haven't heard a ton of people say they outright hated this episode compared to Devil's Cord or Space Babies. But it was good to have Moff back. Solid episode. I'm certainly always glad to hear that people like vibed with it a lot harder than I did. But I by no means consider this a miss or a swish or anything. It was just like a solid like 40-something minute return from a beloved writer to be sure.
Yeah.
Cass?
I think the reason that I like this more than the previous two by comparison is it is much more grounded, like it's just like very standard sci-fi fare for the show. So I was just like, oh yay, like it felt like this, watching this was when I was just like, oh yeah, the show's back. And that was like really exciting for me. So
yeah, I think I agree with that too. Like this just felt like the show wasn't attempting to like color outside the lines with this one.
Right.
And it's nice to have new things with the show. And experiencing these like new vibes that we've never had on the show before, which has been a lot of fun to experience and like talk about and try to figure out how it's going to fit in the larger whole. But it's also just really nice to just kind of get like an exceptionally solid Doctor Who episode that you're just like, yeah, that's Doctor Who. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was fun. It reminded me a lot of Space Babies in that way. In that, like, I was like, yeah, Russell T Davies. Like, there he is. There's that knucklehead. And then like the same thing I felt with this one. I was like, yeah, Moffat. That's great. Okay. So I don't know. It was a good one. So next week, our episode is probably going to be a little late coming out. Nick is going to be out of town. He's going to a wedding next weekend. So we're going to be a few days late. It might even be like kind of right before the next one comes out. So by the time we can get it out there in the world. So apologies for that. But life stuff. What are you going to do? It's either that or like we don't have Nick on the episode, and that sucks. Everybody
That's
knows
no fun.
Nick's everybody's favorite. Like, why would we not want Nick on the show? Come on.
Like Susan, everyone's favorite.
Yeah, right. So we'll be a little late on the next episode. But then the one for what is it called? Dot and Bubble. Dot and Bubble.
Ooh.
That one will be like right after. Like that.
Is that the Kate Herron one?
No. They're doing Kate.
That's
Herron,
the Bridgerton one.
Yeah, that's Rogue.
Wow.
Yeah, Kate Herron and Brienne Redman. They're doing the Bridgerton one. Yeah,
that's what I'm really hyped about.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. Subscribe if you're on YouTube, what have you, so you'll know when that next episode drops. You'll get a notification. And that's it. Go check out the Discord if you're on there. Talk to you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Don't step on a space landmine.
Yeah, please don't.
It sucks. It looks like it really sucks.